This is Football Talks. I want to talk about everything else that's going on in the Premier League and everything that's happening around, let's say, the big hitters, the hard-hitting headlines, everything that goes on from financial fair play, cheating teams, not mentioning any names, but that is where we're starting today. I shouldn't really say cheating, but yeah, bending the rules, maybe, something like that. I want to talk about Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. That's what I want to talk about today. Is it time that Manchester City sacked Pep Guardiola? It's a simple question. I mean, you may think it's crazy, but do you know what? When you look at it, Pep Guardiola at Manchester City, 18 games, 1 win. Now, come on, let's be honest. Pep Guardiola, in his whole career, has had everything easy. He's had it on a plate. He's had the best facilities. He's had the best players. He's had the best structure. He's had the most money spent. He has had it all laid out easy for him. And I don't think even he could deny that or even argue that. What we've got to look at here is that Pep Guardiola right now, let's say, for instance, he was at Real Madrid or even back at Barcelona, the great Barcelona side that he had right now. Would Pep Guardiola still be in a job? That's the question I want to put to everybody right now. Because when you look at it, Pep Guardiola, 18 games, 1 win. And that was against Nottingham Forest a couple of weeks ago. That's relegation form. Right now, he's sitting right down at the bottom of the Premier League form table with Manchester City, amongst a few others. And you've just got to look at it and say, right now, if he was at Real Madrid, he would have been sacked. If he was at Barcelona, he would have been sacked. Probably the same at Bayern Munich. So you're looking at what's happening at Manchester City right now, and I think this just goes to show where they're at and the unknown of what is happening right now. Let's not forget, Pep Guardiola at Manchester City isn't just Pep Guardiola, it's the team that comes with him. And City will be scratching their heads now as well, because Liverpool are walking away with this league. City have just handed it to them on a plate with their form and what's happened. They have fallen off a cliff, absolutely fallen off a cliff in terms of form, and it is now a cakewalk, I think. I don't think Arsenal have got enough in them to take the title. I think Liverpool, after what they did yesterday against Leicester, even when it looks like they're facing adversity, and Liverpool look like they're going to come unstuck or drop points. Southampton, for example, going behind to them. Leicester last night as well. They come through. They have got that steely character and that built-in resilience, it would seem. That's what City used to have under Pep. Now, I feel that Pep Guardiola, at the start of the season, when he wasn't fully committed, he wasn't committed to what was happening with his contract. He was still unsure what he was doing. Was it going to be his last season? Was he going to move into the unknown, take another sabbatical, take time out, go and do international football? Whatever it may be, Pep Guardiola made a conscious decision to stay on at Manchester City. And I thought, as well as everybody else, and I think Manchester City would have thought this as well, was that he, at that point then, would look at it, new lease of life, the players would switch back on again, they know that they've got the commitment from the manager, they're going forward, the next 2 years, blah, everything should just fall into place. Unfortunately for City, it's gone the complete opposite way. City now looking down the barrel of being out of Europe completely, and that is unthinkable. That is unthinkable, because let's be honest, 1 win in 18 in all competitions, where they are in the league right now, completely out of all European places, which is crazy halfway through a season. Title is gone, so the 4 in a row, the champions, this is probably the biggest fall-off from a championship winning side that there has ever been into a next season. I can remember Manchester United with David Moyes, that was a big one. City are probably worse than that right now. And you have to make this, I think in Manchester City need to be sat around the table. The powers that be at that football club need to be looking at this and saying, do we need to change the manager? Because he's not getting the right amount. He's not getting anything out of these City players at the moment. The players that he could rely on, you only have to look at the stats. Look at Bernardo Silva's stats this season. Look at Phil Foden's stats this season. Look at the fall-off. I think Bernardo Silva scored only his 3rd goal of the season, halfway through a season. Yesterday, what's Phil Foden got? I think he's got a couple. Haaland hasn't scored for, 4 or 5 games. He's missing every penalty he gets. It just looks like a side that is lacking in confidence, that needs an inspirational manager, that needs someone to kickstart them, that they automatically thought was there in Pep Guardiola. And because these City players don't know any different, because Pep Guardiola doesn't know any different, the club doesn't know what to do, because they've got the so-called greatest manager in the last, decade in charge at the football club that isn't doing it. Nobody at Manchester City knows what to do. Yesterday I seen a tweet out from Michael Owen, who was talking about, who was covering the game, who was going over everything that was happening in the game, and he was talking about the fans booing the players. That's a small club mentality. Like, seriously, if you can go back to even look at Liverpool teams of gone yesteryears, Manchester United teams, proper championship winning sides, and it took Manchester United fans, I know this for certain, over a decade to start booing the side after a decade of poor performances and real underachieving at the football club. And that, I feel, right now is where City are at. But they won the league last season and they're booing their team already. The fans don't know what's going on. The club doesn't know what's going on because Pep Guardiola has lost it. He has no idea how to get this out of the players. And let's be honest, these players were solely reliant on Pep Guardiola and the inspiration that he brought to the football team, that they don't know what to do right now. There's no one on that pitch leading Manchester City. There's no one on that pitch that's taking the game by the scruff of the neck. All they're doing, and you can tell with City right now, they're passing scared. They're going sideways more than direct. Teams have figured out how to play against Manchester City. Teams are now sussing out what they are doing and how they're operating. And they don't have width. They're not putting as many crosses into the box. They're making poor decisions because the system is flawed. And they don't have the confidence within the manager right now. And you can see that. You have to be honest with yourself. If you're a City fan and you're looking at this, or anyone else looking in at Manchester City right now, Pep Guardiola, he's done. He's done. He cannot get any more. What are you expecting from Pep Guardiola? That's the question. What do you expect him to win trophies every single season? He isn't going to win the Champions League. He isn't going to win the Premier League. Is the FA Cup enough for Pep Guardiola? What are the acceptance levels at Manchester City right now? Because the fans are booing the players, or they're booing whoever. I don't know. Because every City fan that I've spoken to thinks that they are the best thing since sliced bread. And this is a new era and they're going to take over the bleeding football world. But it's all gone wrong and they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to react or what call to make next. And someone at that football club is going to have to make a really, really tough decision. Because Liverpool are sorted. Liverpool are winning the league. It is done. You might as well just hand them the title right now. That is it. It's final. It's over. There's no one catching Liverpool. Unless they have a complete fall-off, injuries come in. Pep Guardiola is stuck right now. Pep Guardiola doesn't know what to do. He hasn't got the players there that I feel are going to take his game out onto the pitch for him. De Bruyne looks lost. He's too old. You can't rely on him anymore. Like I said, Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden, completely fallen off. They're your creative players. And without creative players in Manchester City's side, Erling Haaland becomes null and void. He doesn't get anything. He's not even in games. He cannot hold the ball up. He doesn't play well with his back to goal. He likes to be running at players. He likes to be controlling the defence and chances being created for him. If you stop the supply line, obviously it's the same with every striker, but Haaland isn't that type of player that's going to drop back in and get you over the line. He's not going to take the game by the scruff of the neck. He's not going to drop in like Harry Kane does. The system has to work for Haaland, and this is the problem you've got. Your best player, the so-called best striker in the world, fitted into a system, and now that system that we're just talking about there is gone. It's not working for Manchester City. When Everton can come to town and feel comfortable and should have won the game on the break, that would have been another defeat for Manchester City. Spurs came and absolutely battered Manchester City. Absolutely battered him. Overrun him in midfield. I think the problem that he's got is he hasn't got legs in midfield. And you can say that Rodri is a big miss. Yes, he is a big miss. It's quite clear that he is a big miss. But what you've got to look at there is that right now, City, even without Rodri, would they still be challenging for the title? These are the standards that they were holding themselves to. And you look at Walker, too old. You look at De Bruyne, too old. Bernardo Silva's getting on again. You're looking at John Stones. He's probably going to move on. There's rumours that Diaz is going to be moving on. Pep Guardiola needs to spend about £300 or £400 million in completely rejigging his side and sorting everything out. He just needs a completely different squad. But you have to ask the question, like, if you're Manchester City, are you going to invest that much money into your football club with Pep Guardiola in charge, and he's only there for another 2 years? Your next massive investment, your next squad, your next rebuild, are you going to trust in Pep Guardiola? Because it's going to take time for that team to integrate, and there's another year gone, and then you're looking at that last year of Pep Guardiola. He may just be finding his feet again. You never know. Like he could just go back to the same old Pep, which figures out how Manchester City are going to work again and to get the best out of the squad with this new bunch of players that have come in. But then he's talking about leaving again the year after. So a decision, I think, when you look at Pep and what's happening right now, is that is he the man to spend that money on? That's what you've got to look at. That's what you've got to look at. You only have to look at some quotes on what's come out, like Jose Mourinho's quotes recently, for example. The day Pep wins a Champions League trophy with a club like FC Porto will be the day I will retire from football. It's easy to have a go, isn't it, when it's all down? Transfer market in the winter is not easy, says Pep, but we want players for the next 3, 4, 5 years. Are you still going to be there, though? That's the thing. We are going to try, because we cannot sustain for a long time to have so many players injured. So many players injured. The injury excuse for Pep Guardiola. This wasn't there for any other club. This hasn't been there for Liverpool. It hasn't been there for Manchester United. But now it is a valid excuse, apparently, for Pep Guardiola, because he has got key players missing. And you look at that team yesterday. What is it missing that you could say is going to stop Manchester City from beating Everton at home? This wouldn't have happened last season. And it just goes to show that I don't know if the players are on board with Pep Guardiola anymore. I don't think they have got it anymore. I don't think they understand what he wants. And they're definitely not capable of producing what he wants. And that may be down to old age. That may just be down to sheer fatigue and the demands that Pep Guardiola brings. His team is aging, like we said. Liverpool, on the other hand, who have also got an aging team, have got a manager in there in Arne Slot, who has just carried on from Jurgen Klopp, but put a solidity in it. But like he's solidified them. He's made them harder to beat and kept on scoring the goals. They're more efficient. They don't concede as many goals. It isn't you attack, we attack with them. They are just being that team that you know are going to win the title. Even when you're down, just get a result over the line. The Christmas period, just get results. You're never going to play well with so many games in the same amount of time. And Arne Slot has just got Liverpool ticking along perfectly. And right now, he's probably the worst thing that could have happened to Pep Guardiola, because he is getting results even when they are not playing well. He is getting results even when he hasn't got everyone available to him. And that's the difference. That's what Pep used to do. It's like a changing of the guard. The Pep Guardiola aura has gone, and City need to make a massive decision. They need to make a huge decision when it comes to what they do with Pep Guardiola going forward, because I feel right now that City's best chance is without Pep now. I do. I think that's a question that every City fan is probably asking themselves right now. I mean, I've spoken to City fans personally, and they've said, look, we needed to sell Kevin De Bruyne. We need to sell Kevin De Bruyne in January to bring someone else in. This is where the City fans are at. And when they're booing their team off, these are the champions. They're booing the champions off the pitch. Because let's be honest, City didn't invest too much in the summer. I mean, Savinho is probably the only player really of note that they brought in. You cannot do that. Everything tells you that going back, looking at previous champions, back at different teams that have won, that have been dominant in football, looking at all of that, you just have to look at that and what they do. They always buy players in. They always bring new players in just to freshen things up. And City didn't do that in the summer, and they were the warning signs. Then you start getting a couple of key injuries, not an injury crisis, because let's be honest, there's only really Rodri that's missing long-term out of City's side, and one player does not make a team. Well, you could say like that is probably why he got the Ballon d'Or. And now missing from City's side, you can clearly see the qualities that he's got. The leadership skills, the control that he has over the game. He's a massive miss. But when you don't invest in your squad in the summer, which was weird again, that City would even get rid of Alvarez, another option up front, a different attacking player, and not reinvest that money. They haven't done enough. Like Grealish, he's 30 now. He's not doing it. He's been a complete waste of money for Manchester City. Well, not a complete waste, because obviously they've won the treble and they've won the league with Grealish in the side, so I can't really say that. But when you're looking at it right now, you have to look at it. The fans that are booing the players on the pitch, they know that there's been a massive fall-off, and maybe the standards that they were holding these players to have fallen way, that the players have fallen way short of them. But whichever way you look at it, it all comes down on Pep Guardiola. You have to look at the manager first and foremost, and say, right, is there another guy out there that's going to get more from these players? Maybe these players just need something new. Maybe Pep's time is over. You don't go 18 games with one win and survive at a so-called big club. And that's the decision that City have to make now. That's the decision that City will be looking at, I feel. And ultimately, in the end, they're going to have to make the call on. Because Pep Guardiola, I think he's out of ideas. I think he's struggling. I don't think he knows what his best side is anymore. And he's not creating the same amount of chances. He's not dominating games. Manchester United are poor. Manchester United got the same possession and just as many shots as City did at the Etihad Stadium. And everybody knows Manchester United's predicament right now. Everton, Spurs, these are bottom half of the table, mid-table teams that are going to the Etihad, and they are more than holding their own against Manchester City. In some cases, they're actually the better side. City's season is about to fall off a cliff. Like Champions League, they've got PSG away from home next. They could be falling as low as out of Europe completely, not even making the playoffs. 2 more games to save their season because the Champions League is all they've got. Let's not forget, you don't drop down into the Europa League anymore. City have to beat PSG. There is a very, very big chance that City will fall off completely and be out of the Champions League. And that, really, when you look at it, is, for me, the clearest sign that City do need to make a big decision with the manager. And I think it does need to be there, doesn't it? When you look at the fixtures, Liverpool are the only one of the 5 Premier League Big 6 clubs who have played on Boxing Day and won their game. So you look, Liverpool beat Leicester obviously yesterday 3-1. They added Manchester United to this. I don't think you can even call Man United a Big 6 side anymore. Spurs lost, Chelsea lost at home, City drew at home to Everton. Liverpool are walking the league title. I think everybody knows that. Arsenal have still got to play, of course, but still, when you look at it, you look at what's happening in the league here. City's title is gone. They've lost. Is that acceptable for a manager at a so-called champions winning side to have lost the title at the halfway point? He's out of the Carabao Cup. They are about to fall out of the Champions League unless they pull it around in the next 2 games against PSG and then their last game at home. It's... I don't know. Honestly, this is a big decision for City to make, but just to finish up and break it down again, it's 1 win in 18. They're out of the Carabao Cup. They're out of the title race. They could be out of Europe altogether unless they win the Champions League. And you are supposed to rebuild your squad off the back of the City name and the Pep Guardiola name. Has Pep Guardiola run his course? That's the question. That is everything, I think. The chat, Mr. Dacia Zandero says, "Hi Adam, Pep Guardiola's body language is telling me that he doesn't know what to do and he doesn't seem to be connected with the players anymore, i.e. those marks that he received on his head." It is a concern, like Pep scratching his head, isn't it? Like, that is a worry. That is a stress right there, a stress reaction. Pep's era is ending. We'll go to AC or Juve next, in my opinion. Philip says City can afford and have the best lawyers in the world. How could they let this happen? Pep's downfall, aka the Itchy and Scratchy show. He looks defeated, and everyone but Pep sees it. He does. He's coming across like a beaten man, isn't he? That's the thing. The Dark Muppet Rises says Pep just needs another 115 charges to disappear, and then he'll be challenging again. Speaking of managers, is Ange at Spurs on the chopping block too? Could well be. Like, Spurs' season is falling off. City's season falling off. United's. There's some big clubs with serious managerial decisions to make, I feel, and big problems within. Look, everybody, that is the first episode, the first live. We're just testing it out here on Football Talks. Please do get your comments in on the video below. Let us know what you think. And, of course, make sure you have subscribed and like the video also. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, everyone who's new, anyone who's just subscribed. We'll be doing more of this. This was our first test on the live today. A few teething issues early doors, but we'll get them rectified as we go forward. But, yes, nice to just do a bit of talking on something new. Thank you, everybody, for being in the chat. Make sure you like, share, and obviously subscribe, please, everybody. And I'll see you in the next video. Stay tuned, everyone.